Good morning, my name's Stephanie Comella, and we're here with PD Active doing a neuro-movement class. Today we're going to do the first bit of class, a little bit of self-massage, breath work, and just some strategies to bring your nervous system down into a more peaceful state. And then we'll finish up the second half of class with some dynamic movement on the floor. So make sure you have lots of space on the floor. Today you need some release tools. You can use your letter ball, you can use a tennis ball. We're going to use this for the bottom of our feet, so something smaller for the bottom of the feet. And then if you have any other release tools available to you, just have them nearby so you can grab them, if you get into it and you need something different. We also need 2 towels, so something like a hand towel works great, so 2 of those. And we'll go ahead and get started from that. Let's have you start with the check-in, laying down on the ground. So go ahead and come down to the mat if you're not already there. And go ahead and bring yourself into any sort of position where most of your body, if not all of your body, is lying flat. Figure out my spacing here. So laying on the floor. No props quite yet. And just notice how your body lays down on the ground. And I can guide you through a body scan to bring you into that awareness. The very first bit, just notice how your body feels as it lays down on the ground in a very general sense. Do you feel restful here? Does it feel comfortable? Do you feel like you're melting into the ground, or do you feel like you're hovering over the ground? What's the quote unquote like energy around this position? Notice what your tongue is doing. Notice your throat. Do you feel tension in the throat? Notice the backs of your shoulders. Is there space between the backs of your shoulders and the floor? And running down to your hands, how your hands just laying, without changing anything. You're just taking note of how you fell, basically. How did you fall into this place? And where are you? Does one hand feel curled or open? Trace back up to your shoulders and then across to your mid back, tracing down to your low back. Do you feel a lot of space or not a lot of space in your lumbar spine? And in your hips, your butt cheeks, do you feel one side weighted more so than the other side, or do they feel equally weighted? Tracing down your right leg, feeling the backs of your right legs on the ground, and then feeling how they may lift off the ground. There's a little space behind your knee, and then your calf might touch the ground, and then your ankle lifts up a little bit, and then your heel is heavy. Notice the orientation of that right leg. Does it flop out to the side? Does it flop inward? Does it stick straight? And go ahead and move that leg a little bit and kind of see how that hip is moving in more of a rotational sense. So rotating your thigh bone in and out. What's available to you there? And same thing, we're going to go up and over to the other hip. Feeling the back of your thigh on the ground. The space behind your knee, and then your calf touches the ground maybe, and the space behind your ankle, and then the heaviness in the heel. Notice how that leg laid as well. External rotation, internal rotation, neutral. And then you can even compare, and then go ahead and move
your left leg internal rotation and external rotation. So just the wiggle.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
And then notice the comparison between the right and the left heels. Do you feel more of one edge of your foot than the other side? Great. Let's take an expansive breath here. Slide your arms up out to the side like you're making a snow angel. Bring them up past your ears. And let yourself go into a body yawn, or maybe your body sort of goes into spasm or actually yawns. Stretching from one end of the room to the other, and then release your arms down by your side. And we'll do that again. Slide the arms up past your ears. You can even grab your wrist or grab your fingers. Push in opposition of your feet. And then release. We're the same, but adding another little layer to this, reaching the arms up overhead. Push your fingers or your wrists up. Now take your right heel, so both feet are dorsiflex. Right heel, push the right heel longer and side bend a little bit towards the right. I'm sorry, the right heel's longer, side bend a little bit towards the left. And then push your left heel longer and side bend a little bit to the right. As you're side bending, try not to get shorter through one side. You're just inching out longer each side bend. And we'll go for 2 or 3 more of those kind of steps, reaching out longer and longer with every rep. And then release your arms back down by your side. And we'll go ahead and bend your knees in. When you have your feet flat on the mat, do you notice that your low back presses down into the ground? Or does it stay elevated? So maybe it's different from when your legs were out straight. Separate your feet about mat width apart and let your legs drop from side to side. Winding in the pelvis, spiraling in those thigh bones. The pelvis is a powerful place for parasympathetic activation. Really great space to mobilize, to try to bring down the nervous system. Go ahead and bring your feet back to the center point and place your hands on the front part of your hip bones. And we're going to go into an anterior posterior pelvic tilt. So drawing the pubic bone towards your nose, press your low back into the mat. And then release your tail and come into a little bit of extension where you have some space in your low back. Go ahead and work through that anterior and posterior pelvic tilt a few times, trying to remain in the center axis of this. So if you have an affected side, making sure that you are trying to be as symmetrical as possible, maybe working a little harder on the affected side. Keep going through that anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. Now place your left hand on the base of your sternum so that maybe you feel both sides of the front of your ribs there underneath your hand. And then take your other hand, your right hand, on the pelvis or right above your pubic bone. We're going to keep your left hand steady. And when you do your posterior and anterior pelvic tilts, we're going to try to keep the left hand steady and almost pressing down into the floor, and just have the pelvis rock. Really precise, that awareness. Let's go 2 more there. And last one, stay in extension. Rock your hips over to the left. Pull the pubic bone towards your nose, so you're kind of curling around this circle. Rock your hips over to the right. And then roll your pelvis into extension. So we're making this big circle with your pubic bone and your pelvis. Now, as you're working through this, if you notice your legs moving, you can put a letter ball in between your knees or something in between your knees so that we really make this just a pelvis exercise. Good. And I know it doesn't look like a lot from the outside, but hopefully you're feeling a lot on the inside. And even just that understanding of differentiation that your pelvis can move independently of your femurs. Switch the direction if you haven't already. Maybe 2 or 3 more circles there. Starting to hear my breakfast slosh a little bit. That's a good sign. Getting into that rest and digest phase with the parasympathetic nervous system. 2 more. And last one. Great. And release. Roll off to your side, please. And make a pillow with your bottom arm or use a real pillow. We're going to come into your fetal position. And I want you to be comfortable here. So if you need to use pillows, extra padding, whatever you need to feel comfortable in this position. Remember, when we're working on bringing down your nervous system, we want to support your body so that you don't feel like you're fighting to hold it. We want you to just let go of that nervous system tension. And we do that by creating support. So adding pillows, adding cushions, do what you need to do. And I just noticed, I like watching my movement in my camera. It's actually kind of interesting. I noticed that I like when I'm trying to relax and I'm in this fetal position, that I connect my feet together. And I feel like this gives me a bit of grounding and understanding where my limbs are in space. So for you, if you haven't already done that, maybe try connecting those feet together and just seeing if that helps you feel a little bit more grounded. We're going to rock forward, backwards in that top hip. Okay. And you can make it as dramatic as you'd like. And this is just a soothing mechanism, a soothing strategy. So rocking the body and then also being in fetal position is talking to that nervous system, as we mentioned. The nervous system likes rocking. Anything that recreates kind of a baby, like anything that you would do to soothe the baby is is a fair game here, even as an adult. Fetal position and rocking. And we get this pelvis movement for the parasympathetic nerves, right? The pelvic nerves. We're going to do 2 more here. Good. And rest for a moment. Hopefully your letter ball is nearby, or a ball about this size. And if you don't have a ball this size, you can use a couple couch pillows. We're going to place that ball pretty much underneath your armpit. So for ladies, like where your bra strap might be. Guys, where you would maybe wear like a heart rate monitor, heart strap. And then making some sort of support for your head here so you don't feel like you're dangling so much. And I know, and I understand that, you know, that's going to happen. This is certainly an option where you're kind of like stacking your head on, but it is nice to let yourself drape so that you can fully open your ribs on the top side. Okay. We're just going to stay here for a second. And if it feels good to close your eyes, kind of desensitize yourself to the stimulus that's going on in the world and just let yourself feel what's going on in your environment. We're going to inhale and exhale. As you take your inhales, try to press your ribs into the ball. So you're trying to expand the rib cage, which is going to create extra pressure into the ball. And then when you exhale, it's almost like the weight of your body over the ball helps propel the air out, all the way out, fully empty the tank. Inhale and exhale. We'll go for 2 more of those. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. All right, this is where it gets a little tricky on that letter ball, maybe some balance. We're going to slide this bottom elbow forward and rotate the torso open towards the ceiling. You can place your open hand back on your head for a little bit of support. I know it takes a little bit of balance. And then we're going to slide the bottom elbow backwards and look down towards the mat. Okay. Slide, rotate, open towards the ceiling. And slide, rotate down towards the mat. Now, if you're like, give it a couple more shots. If you're still struggling after 2 more repetitions, then you can take the ball out and just do this straight on the ground. But give yourself an opportunity to try to feel the balance. It is nice to have the ball massaging over that rib cage, and it gives you a really pinpointed, precise rotation. Yeah. Okay, we'll go 2 more cycles. Nice job, you're still with me. Breathing through it. Just caught myself holding my breath, especially when I go this way. Good. And release. We're going to take that ball out and then make a pillow with your body again, with your bottom arm again. And I always love this perception of now laying flat on the ground after we've had a ball in there. You're like, whoa, I can really feel myself yielding into the ground now. I can really feel myself dropping into the floor and surrendering and maybe hopefully releasing some of that neurological tone. Yeah. All right. If your shoulder is comfortable, we're going to just make that long arm out underneath. Let's take your top hand and give yourself a little bit of massage behind your head. If this is not a comfortable position for you, you can lay on your back. It's just a little bit harder to get the back of the neck when you are laying on your back. And I'm just taking my fingers and massaging the base of the skull. So right where the hairline starts, there's no magic sauce to it. It's just taking the fingers and rubbing around little circles wherever you can feel on the back of your neck. And of course, if you feel a spot that needs a little extra love and time and attention, you can spend that time there. And I'm not asking you to dig in. Remember, nerves don't necessarily like compression. They don't like to be pushed. They like to be sort of rubbed, massaged, soothed, and allowing, and they like the tissue surrounding them, the nerves, to be released. Okay, so to be loosened up. Right. All right, we're going to do that whole little series on the other side. So if you want to roll yourself over, go ahead and roll. I'm going to spin around so I can still continue looking at the camera. You do you. All right, and let's go ahead and make that side lying position here, fetal position. Again, if you like this grounded thing with the feet, like crossing the feet over. It's funny, I think I knew that about myself, but I'm recognizing it just for the first time today. Always learning about your body. See, you can be doing this for a job and still be learning new things about your body. All right, we're going to draw the top hip forward and back, doing this rocking. Again, rocking, soothing, so soothing for the nervous system, any sort of rocking. If you're one of those people, or maybe even as a kid, you loved the swings. I loved the swings when I was a kid. And I still do as an adult. Actually, I went on the swings not too long ago. I was like, oh, this is great. Or even like, you know, I was watching something the other day on Instagram, and it was about letting yourself float in like a shallow area where there's still like waves coming in, like in the ocean. And they were saying how like the water gives you the like, this is so woo-woo, stay with me. The the recreation of your experience in the womb. And then the ebb and flow of the water, I think, gives you that rocking sensation. So that combination of being in the water and feeling the ebb and flow of the waves, like that makes so much sense to me. I find myself doing that whenever I'm near the ocean. I just like being in the shallow parts. Interesting. All right, let's take that top, or take your ball and place it underneath your ribs here on this side. And we're gonna put it basically right where you would have a heart rate monitor strap, maybe a little higher than that, like in between your armpit and where you'd feel the bait, like the base of your sternum. All right, and making a pillow with your bottom arm. Find something that feels right for you. Again, if you need to pull towels in, maybe even using an extra ball. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's nice for me. Some residual neck stuff comes out when I'm stressed. Okay. Oh gosh. All right, letting yourself breathe into that ball. We're going to bring the top arm up and over. Let the ribs inflate, and almost we're going to lift off the ball. I'm sorry, not lifting off the ball. We're trying to press into the ball with the ribs and open up on the top here. So both directions. And then let yourself compress. So inhale the expansion. And then exhale. Then you can add the arm or not. I think I'm going to hold my arm up. Yeah, I like that. Everyone's going to be different. Find what feels good. And closing your eyes if you're feeling a little bit overstimulated with your visual inputs and you're having a hard time feeling what's going on inside. Close your eyes, cut off some of that stimuli, and try to feel. Last one. Okay, if you want to keep going on that, keep going. I'm going to take both hands behind my head for a little cradle. We're going to slip the bottom elbow forward as you rotate and look up towards the ceiling. Yeah. And then slide the elbow backwards as you start to look down. Now, it is important, I didn't say this on the other side, it is important that your hands don't push your head down to the mat. See if you can keep that alignment with your chin drawn in, okay? So we go around. And then rolling down. Around. And then going down. And notice for yourself here, which direction, and you can take data from the other side too, which direction felt the most challenging to roll into, or most restricted even. If you were like, it wasn't challenging, I just felt a bigger stretch. Like for me, going right was a little harder, especially on the other side. We'll do maybe one or two more here. Yep. Good. And then we'll take the ball out from underneath. And then the weird sensation of like feeling so heavy into the ground. Trying to feel that sensation of heaviness and that release. And again, what we call yielding, which is like melting into the floor. You can take your upper hand and give yourself a little bit of a massage just creating little circles right at the base of your skull. Pulling the skin, maybe even just pulling a little bit on the hair. And then go ahead and press yourself up to a seated position. We do one last bit for the neck. Your parasympathetic hot spots are your pelvis and your neck and your face. So, oh my gosh, and your organs. So pelvis, organs, neck, and face. So we're going to take our 2 fingers, and if you were to use one hand to feel, and one hand is going to be the placement. We're going to try to feel where your sternocleidomastoid is, which is this big, thick muscle in your neck that goes from pretty much the middle part of your collarbone up to behind your ear. So if you can feel that on yourself. And if you need help finding it, you can rotate your neck a lot and it might pop out a bit more, and then you can kind of trace it up. Okay. So figure out where that muscle is, and then come sort of at the halfway point between the collarbone and your ear. That's where you're going to take this placement of your other 2 fingers, right behind the halfway point and a little bit behind is here. So you're not trying to take your pulse, you're a little bit behind that. We're just going to make little circles in that area. And it's okay. If you're like, I don't know if I'm on it, it's okay. Anything in this area is going to be good. Little circles. This is called Herb's Point. And I get like sleepy in my voice when I do this stuff on camera. And then you can reverse the direction of that circle. All right, we're going to take that same hand, grab behind your neck, almost so that your fingertips are popping out. And we're going to do this traction stretch. Stole this from Feldenkrais. So we're going to pull the fingertips across the base of the skull. Your eyes and head are going to turn towards your elbow as you're tractioning that skin and all of that tissue off to the side. And we're going to reset, and we're going to do this 3 to 4 times. So reset, your eyeballs and your nose goes to the elbow. Good. Try to sit up nice and tall. If you want to grab a ball or something to hold in your lap, that can help ground you. Yeah. And last one. Great. Shake it out. All right. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So remember, one hand's going to be the feeler and one hand's going to be the massager. So we're going to find your sternocleidomastoid on this side. Again, it's that big muscle that runs from inside of your clavicle up towards your ear. So you can find that. You can rotate your head fully away and it might pop out a little bit. Okay. Pinch it and get yourself halfway. And you can look forward once you got it. You'll take 2 fingers and you're going to go right behind the sternocleidomastoid at the halfway point, right there. It's a little bit behind where you would like take your pulse. And we're just going to go in circular motion here. And it's just about, we've done this before. It's kind of like taking the tackiness of your skin and rubbing that around. Your nerves are right underneath your skin, so you don't have to push super hard. You don't have to be super aggressive.
by creating a little bit of disturbance here, you're activating those nerves. And as I said, these nerves are part of your parasympathetic system. It speaks to your parasympathetic system whenever you quote unquote touch the nerve or activate the nerve here. It's a good thing. You're activating the good nerves. They're all good nerves. I shouldn't say good nerves, bad nerves. You're activating the nerves we want to activate right now. And switch the direction of the circles. And then we're going to do same hand, grab behind the back of the neck all the way so that your fingertips are grabbing a hold of some tissue there. We're going to go eyes and head rotate to the elbow as you pull across. And again, if you need something to sort of ground you or stabilize you, you can put something in your lap. You don't have to sit cross-legged, you can sit kneeling. So if you're struggling to sit in this position, you can be in any position that you need to be in. Oh boy. A little tight on my right side. Yeah. 3 to 4 times there. Good. And then go ahead and just take your fingers and we're just going to brush backwards and up to the crown of the head. This one, you do want a little bit of pressure. So especially if you have some nails, you can kind of give yourself that scratch. Scalp massage. That's why it feels so good to get your hair done, because all those parasympathetic nerves are there. All right, and then whenever you're ready there, you can keep doing that if it feels good. Otherwise, come down onto the mat and let's just do a quick check-in here. Let yourself lay fully flat on the ground. I'm not going to go through the whole body scan, but I just want you to feel your body here, because that was about 25-ish minutes. No, that was like 30 minutes of self-soothing techniques. And we didn't really do a lot of movement, but notice here how your body's laying. And take note of that general quality. You feel heavy, light, you feel like you're hovering or melting. And checking in with some of the curves and pressure points of your body on the mat. Do you feel a difference in how your body is articulating or how your body is touching the ground? Maybe the curves are less, maybe they're more. For me, the biggest thing I feel is actually my back feels a little bit better. It was feeling a little compressed earlier. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and bring those knees in so feet are flat. As promised, we're going to do the second half of class with some big dynamic, kind of like more dynamic floor movement. So let's go with the feet down on the ground. Make sure that those toes are connected with the ground. Maybe even take your toes and start sort of brushing the floor with your toes so that we can activate the intrinsics of your feet. Ooh, let's do that. That's kind of interesting, especially if you have an interesting texture underneath the ground. Yeah. All right. And then connecting that foot, those feet into the ground. Articulating bridge here. Tuck the tail and peel your spine up off the mat. Thinking about sending your knees out over your toes. Once you get to your high point, open up those shoulders just a little bit more so that you can stand on the top of your shoulder blades. And then articulate yourself coming down to the mat. We're going to go upper back starts to come into the ground and then oozing down one vertebrae at a time. We release the tail at the bottom and come into that extension. Tuck the tail, peel on up. Rolling one vertebrae at a time, opening up through the collarbones. And then articulating down nice and slow. And releasing your tail at the bottom. Good. Tuck the tail, peel on up. Sending your knees out over your toes, nice and strong through the legs.
articulating from the upper back and rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Good. Starting to feel a little bit more slinky with every repetition. We're going to go one more time. Peel up. Standing on the tops of your shoulders. Good. And then articulating down nice and slow. Making sure that those big toes are engaged. Bend your knees in towards your chest. Grab behind your thighs. Kick your heels up so that the heels are facing the ceiling, but you're grabbing behind your thighs. And depending on how flexible you are for this happy baby stretch, you may or may not be able to grab your ankles or even your pinkies, okay? So figure out where you want to grab. You can grab again behind your thighs, your ankles, or your pinkies. We're going to start to rock side to side here. And you can use your elbows and your knees to kind of bounce you off the floor and roll over to the other side, okay? If it's possible, try to keep your head down on the ground for now. And then finish sort of in that center line. We're going to take your left leg and reach it out long on the mat. Bring your left arm up past your ear. So now you're in half of a happy baby. Yes? Half of a happy baby. We're going to bring that left leg back to where it came from. Grab on. The right leg reaches out and the right arm reaches up. Good. Big stretch to that whole right line now. Good. Up and catch. Left side goes out. Stretch, stretch, reach. Yep. Up and catch. Right leg goes out. Good. So working at a little bit more of a tempo here. Take what you need though, right? Take what you need. Feel the collection of your abdominals help you draw the leg and the limbs back to their start. We're going to go for 2 more. And last one with the left leg out and in. Nice job. Bend the knees in fully. We're going to grab your ankles. Can we still grab our ankles? Awesome. We're going to curl our head and shoulders up off the ground. And if you need a little bit of assistance, your feet are going to lift up and it's going to help you curl up a little higher. So quad strengthening and abs. And then return your heels down and release your head and shoulders down. So we're going to curl up, chin draws in, curl up into that abdominal curl. And if you have it in you, lift your feet up just a little bit so that you get that extra inch. And then nice and slow release down. Good. Up and curl. And then release. Nice job. Feel your quads squeeze. Curl up, kick, 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 kick. And then return. We're going to go one more time, please. Curl up, kick, 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 and then return. Excellent job. Roll to your side. Yep. And we're going to bring that bottom arm out from underneath you. Go ahead and go from fetal position to pressing the legs out. And then back to your fetal position. And then push both legs out. When you come back into the fetal position, push into the ground so that you feel your abs help you bring the knees in. And I realize that if you're on a yoga mat or a high pile mat, rug, whatever, you're going to get some friction, but more work for you. Yes? Yes. Out and in. Good. See if you can get those legs up a little higher now. Almost like you're jumping them out. Yeah, last 2. And finish with your legs out long. Hold. Take your top leg and stretch it back behind you. Take your top arm and stretch it forward so that the back leg and the top arm are in opposition of one another. We're going to stretch that foot further back so that you start to roll backwards. This arm in front of you is going to come up and around, and you'll just sort of unfurl onto your back. Okay, let's try that again. Bring both knees into your fetal position on your back. Roll off to the same side. You can make a pillow or not. The top leg is going to stretch back. It can be low. This can be bent. That's fine. The top arm stretches forward. Feel the stretch through the diagonal, and then the hip falls back, and then you sort of just lay through. Okay. Fetal position on your back. We're going to do that one more time on this side. Roll. Make that bottom elbow. We're going to go on that opposite diagonal here through the leg and the arm. Start to unfurl and release. Nice. Bend your knees in. Fetal position from side to side. Keep your fetal position side to side. Keep your fetal position side to side. Good. Finish and lay on the side that you did not just do, which maybe you're away from me. Or spin yourself around. We're in fetal position, but we're going to work now. So dorsiflex the feet, slide the legs out, pull the knees in. Use this top hand to support, almost a jump in and out. Yep. Jumping in, jumping out. Jumping in, jumping out. Good. 2 more. Last one. Hold. Top leg stretches back. Top arm stretches forward. Oh. Stretch that leg a little further. Let your hip be the first thing to fall. And then this arm sort of just sweeps around your eyes and you're on your back in this X pattern. Fetal position, draw the navel in to collect everything in. Roll over to the side, same side. You can make a pillow with your bottom arm if you'd like. Top leg stretches out, top arm reaches forward. Feel the reach, spiral through your hip, spiral through your spine, and let yourself come open, sweep the leg. Collect from your navel, drawing everything in. Again, roll off to the side. Stretch the top leg, top arm, big reach through the system. Spiral the hip first. Oh, don't let that shoulder come too early, and then release out and return. Nice. Abs in. Your knees are in towards your chest. We're going to draw the head and shoulders off the ground. So pulling on your legs a little bit. Rock and roll yourself up. We're going to come into a seated position. Here. Thread your left leg underneath and behind and roll into hands and knees. Come back where you just came from. So you're going to sit down and bring the leg forward. What? Yeah, there you go, Carrie. Good. Same thing, other side. Thread the leg through. Whichever leg is threaded is the way you're going to roll. And then sit the hips back where you came from. And then come into your little ball position. Same, we just get smoother. Roll, thread, knees. Unrotate and take a seat, come through. Some of you may know this more as an under switch. We worked this on a little bit earlier. So if you thread the leg under, now if you hook your pinky toe and you hook your toe here as well, then maybe your knees never actually hit the ground until you're in quadruped. Yeah, I knew Adam would take the bait. And then return and sit. Replace. Let's do the same side. I don't know if Carrie's camera froze or she's frozen in fear. We're going to thread, get the toes engaged, rotate. You got to put weight through your hands, hover the knees, and take a seat. Yep. Same thing going on the reverse. Just hover your knees and then sit the hips down. Reset. One more time on that same side. Thread. Grab the toes. Hands come off. So whatever leg is threaded is the hands. Maybe if I do it forward again. Tuck the toes. You're going to push up through the feet and then the knees drop. Yeah. And then the reverse of that is just hover your knees, hips come down. Reset. Let's do 3 on the other side as well. So whichever leg you're threading back,
Hands will come off to that side. Grab into the toes there, pick up the hips, pivot, and knees down. Sorry for the view. We're gonna go hips, knees up, pivot the hips, and then take a seat. Reset. 2 more on that side. Thread, roll, push through, knees, yep, and return. What I love about this sequence is there's so much vestibular, right? It's like I'm seeing something here, and then I'm seeing something there, and then I'm having this spot, and I'm turning around, and I'm getting all dizzy, and we get that training effect. Yeah, nice. Cross the legs over, roll over the shins, or somehow figure out how you want to get into hands and knees. I just gave you one more option to get there, or otherwise just do it, the skill that you just learned. Yeah. All right. You all know that I love slinky cat cow. So separating your pinkies and thumbs, we're going to go starting in extension. Lift your tail and widen your sit bones. Let your heart drop and your sternum go wide. Keeping your eyes up, we're going to tuck the tail first, round through the spine, push the ground away, and drop your head. Release the tail and come into that extension, wave through the spine, collarbones open, eyes go up. Couple more here. Tuck the tail, push the ground away, round through the spine, drop your head. And then release the tail and extend out. Collarbones go wide, eyes come up. We'll do that one more time. Slinky cat cow. We roll under. Paying attention to all those segments of your spine. Good, good. And then release. Untuck your toes and take a seat. Untuck your toes and then take a seat. So your feet are flat. You're stretching the tops of your feet. You can give yourself a wiggle. Come forward. Try to get those toes underneath you. And we'll do now a toe sit here. I have to pull my pinky toes out because they often get stuck. And then you can give yourself a little wiggle here. Make sure that you're actually sitting on the tops of your, the metatarsal heads, the ball of your foot. Come forward, little change up. We're going to take your right foot, the top of your right foot, the bony part of it. It's going to come onto the arch of your left foot. And then take a seat on it. Now, depending on how tender or sensitive your feet are, you may want to keep your hands down. And then this is where you can kind of wiggle around to find any sort of sweet spots to release the bottom of your foot. I'm running out of time, so we're not going to use any of our release tools. We're just going to use our own bones to do the release work. Once you feel like you got that side pretty good, shift forward. We'll take the top of the left foot and put it on the instep of the right, and then sit back and wiggle that out. Yep, and then bring it in. All right, we're back into hands and knees position. Let's have you tuck your toes so that we're primed for movement. Walk your hands out just a little bit more, so now we're in a position ready to move. Sit the hips back and come into extension through your spine. So lifting your sits bones and eyes are up. Press forward over your wrist and round your spine when you get there. So the hips kind of drop and you're drawing down. So you're rounding in your upper back. Pull your hips into flexion as you set them back over your heels. And then at some point your body rolls through into extension. So you're shifting not only forward and backwards, but also between flexion and extension. Let's see if we can coordinate the two. Round through the spine as you come forward. Keep the rounding for a little bit longer and then extend as the hips go back. Good. And try not to overthink it too much. Just rocking your body forward and back. And moving your eyes and head will give you the idea of what we're trying to get here. Flexion, extension, hip flexion, and a little bit of vestibular training with the change in the eyes. We'll do 2 more here. And last one. Great. Sitting back over the heels, round your spine, looking down between your thighs,
pull your body up a little bit so your fingertips drag on the floor. Slide your fingertips back out and come into that extension. All right, so we're gonna round the spine and drag the fingertips on the floor, hollow out in your belly, and then slide the fingertips out and come into extension. 2 more, round up and extend down. 1 more time, round up and extend down. We're gonna take this all the way to a high kneeling position. So we're gonna round up. I call this the zombie coming out of the swamp. Round up. You're gonna come all the way through. The fingertips will get heavy. The hips will come underneath. And then you're pulling yourself into that vertical position. Let's do that again. Round through your spine, upward back first. I know you can't see my head. Tuck your chin in. Roll through. Let your arms be heavy. Your fingertips will land onto the ground. Slide the fingertips out until you come into extension. Hips are back, almost like a child's pose. Tuck the tail and round your spine. Pull the hips forward as your zombie arms come in, keeping your head draped for as long as possible. We're going to pull the hips underneath us through the hamstrings and the glutes, and then pop your head up on top is the last thing. 1 more cycle through. Draw the chin in, round down. Fingertips land and slide out. Come into that extension. And then round, collect, pull the hips underneath you. You got to grip into those hamstrings. Round, 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 round. Pull the hips. There we go. Better. Nice job on that last one. You want 1 more? I think you just got it. We get 1 more. Roll down. Roll down. Send the arms out. Channel that zombie coming out of a swamp. Pull the hips underneath you. Drag the hands in. Pull, 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 pull from underneath. The head is heavy and it's the last thing to pop up on top of your spine. Nice job. Let's bring that right foot forward into a proposal stance. Right foot forward into proposal stance. Yep, use a chair or something if you need help with your balance. Now we're going to shift forward and back. Forward and back. And again, if you need to hold onto a chair or something. Let's play with the position of this right leg. If your foot is really close and in line, you're like on a tightrope. A, it's a little harder to balance, and B, you're going to be focusing that stretch more on this hip flexor. Let's go then to a different angle on that leg, maybe at a 45-degree angle. So now your shift is more in this diagonal and your balance is maybe a little better, and you're going to get now more stretch on the inner thigh. And then let's work that leg all the way out. See if you can get it in line with your other knee. Lots of stretch here on this. And we're going to go off to the side this way. So we got 3 angles to work with on the rocking. 1 more. Replace that leg where it came from. Let's bring your left leg forward. Now that you sort of know the end story, you can pick where you think your balance is going to be best managed, but I'm going to go through all 3 in case you need that refresh. So we're going to go forward and back. We'll do about 3 in each direction. And then on the diagonal, try to make sure that foot is as far out as possible too. If it's too close, you're not going to get that stretch. Yeah. And then all the way out to the side, opening up in that adductor here. Trying to keep yourself as upright as you can in your torso. Don't forget that posture and that length in your neck that we did earlier. Good. And then go ahead and release. Let's take a seat on the ground in any position that you feel comfortable in. Either cross-legged, long sitting, Z sitting, up on a chair, whatever you need to do. And then just bringing yourself back to that center place that we started with. We had a little intermission, and then now we did some dynamic movement to sort of reintegrate our nervous system back to an active state, more grounded, but active. And if it feels right for you, close your eyes so you can desensitize the vision centers and really try to work and hone in on your proprioception and what you're feeling and how you interact with the surface underneath you.
Taking a moment to reflect on the last hour-ish. Picking out 1 or 2 of your favorite drills or stretches or self-release strategies or movements on the floor that felt really good and juicy and nourishing for your body. And then visualizing or making a plan on how you're going to insert those into your daily routine, either swapping something else out and placing that in its place, or adding that to another habit that you do. We can habit stack for better integration to your day. Take a deep inhale through the nose. And exhale. Nicely done. Great job.